Hey guys, today I'm going to be taking you through the entire print process of going from a blank t-shirt like this to printing it on the Epson F2100. I'm not going to cut anything. I'm going to film the entire thing. If I do have any cuts or pauses or anything, it's probably because the battery died, but I have backup batteries in my pocket, so I'll be able to switch them out real quick. But with that being said, it's going to be a longer video. I'll try to timestamp everything, so if you're curious about a certain process, you'll be able to skip to it below. So with that being said, I'm going to throw in my intro here, and then I'll bring you guys back once I have everything set up. All right, so first thing we're going to want to do is take the shirt over to the heat press. I like to pre-press all my shirts. This just makes me feel better, and additionally, it flattens all the fibers. For this video, I'm going to kind of just be rambling and talking through the steps. So that's just going to fill the time. But for the pre-press, I have my settings on 320 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep it at a medium pressure, about 4 on this machine. And then I like to just hit it for about 10 seconds. Once that's done, it'll get all the excess moisture out of there, as well as, like I said, flatten all the fibers. Then I have my Pretreat machine over in this corner. So I'll turn you guys around. And you are able to thread this on for the Pretreat machine, but it just takes too much time, and this tends to be a little bit quicker for me. So I do use Firebird Pretreat. If you've seen my previous videos, I like to use the Firebird, either the dark or the universal. I have the bottle over there. I'll grab it in a second. But as for settings, I am going to be doing the full shirt as a volume. I'm just going to bump it up to about 28, doing the full shirt, and it's going to be a round trip. So 28 puts me right about, that's a little high actually. Maybe for 28 grams, so we're looking at about 18 on the machine. And Eco-Free, they have a chart here. This is typically what I reference. Also, Firebird has done a lot of decent testing with their Pretreat, so you can always reference their Firebird Matrix is what they call it. But once I have that, I'm going to bring, see, I don't know if that shows up well, the pre-treated shirt back over to the heat press. And of course, get you guys turned back around. But one thing I like to do after the pre-treat process is I keep a little 4-inch foam roller next to my heat press, and then I just like to press the Pretreat into the shirt, not super hard or anything crazy, but just enough to give it a nice even coating, and then also, again, to press it in there, get the fibers flat and everything. So to cure the Pretreat, I like to throw a parchment paper on top, and I do it in, if you're not super sure, you can do it in 10-second bursts, 15-second bursts. You can do the whole thing in about a 30-second burst. If you are having issues with staining, just lower the temperature, lower the amount of time, and then pop it more often.
Hey guys, don't be alarmed. This is still me. I'm just doing a voiceover because as I'm editing this, the microphone is actually cut off here. I don't know what caused it. I thought my battery was charged. Maybe the mic got disconnected. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't notice it until later. So I'm going to kind of fill the gaps here so you're not just sitting in silence watching me print. But basically what I was talking about with the Pretreat is I like to do my Pretreat or dry my Pretreat in 15-second presses. This kind of lets the steam and all that, air come out in between those presses, as you see right about there. No, it's kind of tough to see, but the steam does come out in between, and when there's no steam, that's pretty much how you know you're done. Alternatively, if the parchment paper just slides off with, no problem when you're taking the press off, as you see here, that it slides off, that's how I know the Pretreat is done as well. So another thing to look for is, as you see, I stick my hand inside. I'm feeling for kind of like a dry starch feeling, and that's how I know the shirt's good to go. So I'm happy with that. You do see a little bit of box. That's just mostly from the heat press, a little bit of Pretreat, but of course that does wash out after the first wash. So if you do have customers that are worried about it, let them know. Wash them before you wear them. That's typically the recommendation for DTG. But with the shirt ready to go, we can go ahead and head over to the printer. I'm kind of just talking about the settings here. I don't remember exactly what, and as you can see, I've already got everything set up as the printer is blinking on the left there, and it's ready to go. I do use Cathari for the most part. Sometimes I do hop over to Garment Creator. They each kind of have their pros and cons, but mostly I like to stick with Cathari. For Garment Creator, this is kind of the equivalent of a level 3 or a level 4, I believe, maybe even a level 5. One thing I do change, though, is I like to add a pause in between the white and the CMYK layer. So the white, once it airs out for a little bit, it will gel up a little bit. So if you do have issues with the colors running, like mostly I have this issue with red, but if your colors are mixing with the white or you're having some like bleed through or something like that, definitely add a pause. 60 seconds is maybe a little bit excessive, but I've also seen that it helps with my testing with the super vibrant colors. So I just stick with 60 seconds. It adds a lot of time with my printing, but it gives me higher quality prints. So kind of my own thing that I do. Obviously, if you're having issues, you can do it as well. If you're not having this issue, you don't have to do it. So one thing I'm talking about here is I actually polled a Facebook group, and I found out that when people put their shirts on the printer, I typically just thread them on. That's just what I was used to. However, when I asked people if they lay their shirts on top or thread them on, it was about 50-50 split out of like 20-30 people that answered that some people like to lay it on, so both layers of fabric are on top. I personally like to thread it on. This is because I use the side seams to kind of make sure everything is straight, but I just thought it was kind of weird. It was pretty even 50-50 split. So again, personal preference type of thing, and in this industry, typically what it ends up being is whatever works best for you is kind of the best way to go, as long as you get a good result. You know, nobody else can tell you different. So, gotta be honest, I don't know what I'm talking about here. Again, just kind of rambling like I'm doing right now. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the video. I did want to just capture this whole entire process. It didn't take too long to print the whole shirt and get everything cured. It's not the most efficient thing to do, but you know, as I'm standing here talking, I would be typically loading up another shirt on the Pretreat or curing another shirt. So you can be a little bit more efficient. For the sake of this video, I'm just doing the single shirt. So as the shirt does come out, one thing I do want to point out is if you are having issues with Pretreat, this is the first stage that you'll notice it at, is basically the white. When it comes out, it should be a nice opaque white. If it's not, you might want to bump up your Pretreat. As you can see here, I have a pretty good white, so I'm super happy about that. But as I am still rambling here, the print for the white does come out. It's going to pause for 60 seconds. I think I adjust the camera here, and then it's going to cut, and that's when I realized that I wasn't recording this whole portion that I just covered here. Hopefully you guys are still here with me. Give me a couple seconds here. Don't know what I'm doing off screen. I'm moving the camera. Once I get it into position, that's when I notice none of this recorded. So thanks for dealing with me. And here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, half, and see you guys. Alright, so I just disconnected. I just realized my mic died, but still drying. It's the same shirt, everything. We're at about 30 seconds, so I'm going to leave you guys propped up and plug my microphone back in. But in the meantime, this should be fine. Sorry for any audio issues. Alright, we are back. Pretty good color. The most important part about this entire process is going to be the pre-treat. And you'll be able to tell typically, I should have shown you guys on here, but on the white layer, the first white layer, you should be able to tell how much, if you got a good amount of pre-treat. If you're getting some like black speckles in between and whatnot, I would definitely increase the pre-treat on the next shirt. But you definitely want to get that dialed first. This is looking pretty good right now, but
Awesome. So I think this came out pretty good. Next thing I do here, and this is not going to be an entertaining part of the video, and I will leave a timestamp here below, but typically what I like to do next is let it sit. Since I'm only doing the one shirt, I'm going to let it sit here since I don't need the printer for the next shirt. But I typically let it sit for about a minute to even up to 5 minutes, and honestly, if I'm going for like super vibrant colors, I'll let it sit for even longer than that. So I don't want to cut it, I don't want to speed it up. Maybe I do speed it up if I watch it back and it's super long, super boring, but this next part is going to be just it drying for about a minute. I'm going to turn everything off though, so after it does its cleaning. But I guess I'll take this time to say, if you guys ever have any questions about the DTG process, I also do a lot of embroidery. I'm obviously not a professional. I'm doing this in my basement, but I do feel like I have learned a lot just from testing, you know, making these crazy, you know, videos like when I embroidered on food, printing on different things. Just from testing, I have some general knowledge. If you have any questions, just let me know. Other places I definitely recommend you guys check out if you are interested in getting into DTG is Equipment Zone. They have fantastic training. The people there are very knowledgeable. They do seminars or webinars I think every week. And if you buy a printer from them, they get you set up, they get you going, and you're pretty much good to go. All American Print Supply, that's where I got my stuff from. They're pretty good as well. They have a couple videos out there. Alternatively, other than like companies that you're going to buy the printer from, I would look for Facebook groups or community groups that you can join and discuss, ask questions, kind of open forum type of thing. There's been a lot of times when I started that I was kind of just kicking the wall, you know, feeling like I was just wasting money printing shirts, throwing them away because they weren't good, or cutting them into rags, whatever. Ultimately, I was able to meet a handful of people that were able to help me get over that threshold of the problems I was having, and then once I got past that, the next level is kind of just, you know, experimenting and see the limits of what your machine is and what your skill set is. But it's definitely not the easiest thing in the world. I know a lot of times they pitch it as, you know, you just hit a button and you print a t-shirt, and for the most part, yeah, that's the case, but there's so many small things that go into it, especially if you've never actually worked with shirts before. You know, if you haven't done any like HTV, sublimation, screen printing, if you haven't done anything like that and you're just completely new to the apparel decorating process, there's a lot that kind of goes into it that nobody really talks about. So still gonna let it dry. Honestly, I think it looks good. I'll give it about like 30 more seconds. Last thing I'm gonna say, there are tons of people out there on YouTube unaffiliated to like these brands or businesses and whatever, myself included. I'm gonna try and tag a couple of those videos in the description because I did watch a bunch and just spend hours watching videos, and honestly, that's where I learned a lot. I'm trying to think, I can't think of the guy's name in particular, but I'll list it if I find it. He has a good video on the print process of like the time it takes to print. Again, obviously you saw how long it took to print here. If you have everything set up well, you don't have to do the cleaning. You're already, you know, if you've done the cleaning, everything's set up. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty quick, minus the 60-second pause that I had there. But there's so many people out there that have the machines. There's one in particular as well that I believe they have the Epson as well as the Brother GTX. And obviously that's a big pro because they've seen both sides, they've used both sides. So their videos are very informative if you're trying to figure out if you want to go with the Brother or the Epson. I like the Epson. They have a good warranty, they have good support, and there's a lot of people out there that have it as well. The Brother, I think, is maybe just a little bit of a step up. From my understanding, the print heads are easier to replace if you ever need to replace it. The maintenance is a little bit more hands-on, but they also do have a lower cost of ink. So obviously do your own research. That's kind of the things that I had when I was looking into it. I just couldn't afford the Brother, so the Epson was kind of my go-to. But yeah, with that being said, I think we are good to cure it. So I'm gonna once again move you guys over to the heat press. For the settings to cure the shirt, it's pretty much the same as when I cured the Pretreat. I typically keep my settings the same, and I'll try to speak louder since I don't have the microphone. Hopefully you guys can pick me up, but 320 degrees Fahrenheit, medium pressure. Actually, sometimes I like to drop pressure to like low pressure. And then for time, I go for about 90 seconds is typically what they say. What I'm gonna do is 60 seconds or 45 to 60 seconds. I like to flip the parchment paper. You don't have to flip it. I just like to pop it open, and then give it a new kind of surface to repress. So about halfway through, I'll do that, flip it, and then do it for another 45, 60 seconds. Total, maybe about 90 seconds to 120 seconds. When you're done, the best way to kind of indicate that it is cured is the parchment paper should slide off. If it doesn't and it's still sticking to print, you might need to press it for a little bit longer. But also, on the flip side, don't cook it. You know, don't let it sit for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just straight up, because you can scorch the shirt, especially on lighter color shirts. So, again, I'm just going to hit this for about 45 seconds. Once that gets there, I'm going to flip it. I should have probably prepared a script. I don't have anything to say here for the next 2 minutes, but again, if you are doing more than one shirt, this is when that's going. I do have the timer on it. There are auto pop heat presses. Those are nice because you don't have to attend to it. So when this hits the timer, I still have to pop it open versus the auto pop. The auto pop ones, once it hits X amount of time, it's automatically going to pop open. So that was 45 seconds. Here's another 45. But if you're doing other shirts, again, if you had your pre-treated pile, your pile that's already pre-treated, throw one on the printer, get that one going, and then you can start pre-treating the next. This whole DTG portion is kind of just built around efficiency, especially if you're doing volume. You need to be pretty efficient. The cost of ink and supplies and everything that goes into it, for the most part, it doesn't make sense to just print one shirt. I'm at the end of my day, I'm just printing this one for myself. That's going to be on my website. So I'm not too concerned about that, but definitely keep that in mind. The time that goes into it, the ink costs, and the process. You know, if I have somebody asking me for a single shirt, it doesn't make sense to charge. Even if you're charging $30, you have to turn on your heat press, let it heat up to temperature, turn on your pre-treat machine, turn on the printer, get that set up. It's going to go through the ink to cycle and clean itself. All that cost in, you know, you're already spending a lot of money that you're not paying that money, but you are. So still stuck just a little bit. I'm gonna flip it over one more time, let that steam out, and hit it again for about 10 more seconds. Cool. Alright, so there we go. That's my final t-shirt there. So whatever the timer's at, go ahead and cut that. Basically, I mean, I just wanted to shoot a quick video, if I'm honest. I wanted to shoot a video. There's not a lot of videos out there to show the entire process and how much time it takes exactly. And I see a lot of people ask that often. Still hot, that's still hot. How long does it take to print a shirt, yada yada, whatever. Everybody's setup's gonna be a little bit different, like I said. This is how long it took me. I don't know. I think maybe based on the timer, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. That may be a lot for a single t-shirt, but again, you're printing one t-shirt. If you're doing runs, it's gonna be a lot quicker than that. If you're talking about how long does it take just for the print time itself, skip to that portion of the video, see how long that segment is, for how long that took to print. Keep in mind, I did add a 60-second pause. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to add. If you have anything to mention or any questions, let me know in the comments below. I try to get to them as soon as I can. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys found it entertaining. This is more for information. So maybe my best thing I can do is teach you guys something, or hopefully you guys learn something. So otherwise, hope you guys have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.